Last night around 8 o'clock, I got back from the MS 150 ride that I participated in. This year I was only able to ride one way because my wife and I went away for celebrating a specific year of ages that we've made it through life and our and around 38 years of being married. So we were away in Italy for 2 weeks. But being on that bike ride, I knew I was glad I only chose to go one way, but I knew Monsignor wouldn't allow me to be away for 3 full weekends, so I had to come back, and it was good because I was pretty tired. But anyway, and as a little note, my father-in-law was very glad to hear that I made the trip, but he asked, didn't I pay for a round trip? We get donations, so it's all in good favor. But in this trip to Italy, it was wonderful. I saw many parts of the country, from the south to the north, from the east to the west coast, and it was really a special thing for my wife and I. And we got into Florence. It was a beautiful town. We actually got to see the original David by Michelangelo. Many different things, the big cathedral there. It was beautiful. But we spent a lot of time, and then we needed to head back to the hotel. We had been on free time for most of the afternoon. And we were going through the side streets. And we had gone through one of the streets where I noticed there was a lot of men hanging out outside of the, I guess their homes, if you will. And they were talking and arguing with each other. But you could tell these were migrants or someone who had come into the area, didn't necessarily grow up here. And so they were selling their wares on the street when they were out, mostly water, and if it started to rain, they were selling umbrellas and ponchos. It was always, they knew what to pull out at the right time. It was interesting. So we continued through that section, and we were a couple blocks from the hotel, and we got, it still bothers me, got to a part where I could see that there was this little old woman sitting on the curbs, sort of like in the gutter. Black, a lot of black on herself. I mean, it's veils or whatever you want to call it. And as we were walking towards her, there was one of these vendors, and he was selling water, large bottles of it. And all he did was simply walk up to her, he handed her a bottle of water, and he kept going. He's trying to make his ends meet. He's selling bottles of water on the street, and he walks past her, and he stops and gives her the water. So just like now, it's bothering me. And I walked a block and a half before I just couldn't do it. Sorry. I couldn't walk any further. I had to stop. And I turned to my wife and I said, look, we got to get a sandwich for this woman. So we went in, even made sure it got toasted, and went back to see that she was still in the place. And she wasn't there. So we walked around for a couple minutes, and I saw a woman coming up the side street, and nobody else than a little old lady with a black veil would be carrying a big bottle of water. I knew it was her, and I walked up to her, and I just handed her the bag, and I said, you're blessed, and I walked away. I say this because most of us either are blind or complacent to what's in front of us, as I am. I give you this example not to say that I do it day to day, because this was only one of many encounters over this trip that I ran into someone like this. But at this particular moment, at this particular time, I couldn't take it. And this is what these readings today are all about. We get complacent, we get blind, and we do not see what's truly in front of us. This person was in need. There's so many things that come our way that need our help. It doesn't have to be this person we visually see. It can be something we hear on TV, or a fire in a home where people need support, or someone walks past us and seems to be upset. And we keep walking because we are blind and we are complacent. And this is the readings. We set up these boundaries between us and others. There is no boundary. And this is what Jesus Christ teaches us. There is no boundary between any of us. I am no better than anyone else in this universe. And neither are either of you, any of you. We're all equal. And to see a need and to walk past it, I am therefore not doing what God calls me to. Don't set up the boundaries that someone's better or worse, richer or poorer. Don't set up those boundaries, and don't allow yourself to be complacent. It starts right off with Amos. He's writing 900 years before Christ comes onto this earth. He writes these words, "Woe to the complacent, lying on beds of ivory, stretched comfortably on their couches." He's writing at a time where there's great prosperity in Israel, and yet there's this lack of social justice, and there's corruption in their religious faith formation, if you will. No different than any time in history. It always happens. And he preaches to us, woe, to be comfortable. Woe, that we can sit comfortable and allow things to blind us and become complacent. And Paul today in his letter to Timothy is really clear on who we are. We are of God. We are truly of God. And if we truly profess to be Christians, God lovers, people who trust in everything that Jesus Christ teaches us, then we will, as he puts it, pursue righteousness. We will be devoted to faith. We will love. We will practice patience and gentleness. These are the words that we hear, probably week to week, month to month when we come here. And when we come here, it is to re-energize ourselves week to week. It doesn't mean that we don't pray daily and don't develop our relationship with God and Jesus Christ on a daily or hourly basis. But we do need to be here and to be reminded that these words have meaning. Amos, don't be complacent. Paul, pursue righteousness, gentleness, and love. And the gospel today from Luke reminds us that our soul will be judged by all of our actions here on earth. We are going to make it somewhere. But what are the actions that we are to perform? What are we to do? What are we to be while we're here? Are we doing everything we are called to do? I know for a fact that I am a sinner and I don't do half of what I should do. As I spoke, I walked by this one woman and couldn't take it, but I've walked by many others. And there's other situations out there that I've been too busy for. Will I make it to heaven? Will I make it to that place that God calls me to? Do I deserve it? When we get complacent and we get blind, we set limits on how far we're to go. There is no limit how far we need to go to help those who are out there, those in need, those who need this love. Jesus is clear that there is a next life, that we need to believe in it, and part of it, and part of how and where we're going, somewhat depends on all of our actions here. Did we practice Christian love, or did we practice a little bit of selfishness, not think about others? Did we set up boundaries between ourselves and others and allow ourselves to convince ourselves that they're not quite as good as me, they don't deserve this, they don't deserve that? That's not what Christ teaches us. It's not. And Christ teaches us not to get complacent, to see the issues that are out there. I think there's a battle between this word rich and the battle of poor. And when you're rich, you've got everything you need. You've got all that money. But then you've got all the worries on how you're going to hold on to it. And all the money in the world isn't going to buy you all the happiness that you need. And yet, I can tell you from my experience with many of the homeless that I've run into, they're happy. A lot of them are happy. Not fully happy, but they're free. To some degree, they're free. So there's some balance between our richness and our poorness that we have to figure out how to live our lives. Having money is just not the answer. It's not going to solve all the issues. Will we wake up from this dream that we're in, that everything for ourselves is just the way things are to be, if you will? What are we called to be? What does Jesus Christ call us to be? He calls us to love and to share. To love and to share, and to not be complacent. We're asked to open our eyes and to see that little beggar woman on the street. We're asked to see Lazarus at the door who needs the help. They may not be physical human beings. They may be a call. They may be an issue. But Christ is calling us to action. All I can say is, I pray that we all may always live with open eyes and loving hearts, no matter where we are in our life situation, and be loving, caring, and sharing human beings. Amen.